Hello. Welcome, everybody. Well, if you made it this far in the day, you're doing great. And thanks again to all the LMEA officers and all the support team, and certainly all the Conn-Selmer support team for making this happen. You hit the jackpot on this one. I'm going to introduce two dear friends and let them tell us something about themselves. The first one is the director of bands at Baylor University, who's Dr. Eric Wilson, and the second one is the professor of music at USC, Southern California, Dr. Frank Ticheli. So, Dr. Wilson, tell us about yourself. We want to know.
Well, hello. Good to see everyone. Well, actually, we're not seeing any of you, but it's great to have you join us. So, yes, I'm in my 15th year at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, the home of Chip and Joanna Gaines, as many of you know, and many others as well. But it certainly has been a great opportunity to teach here at Baylor. And before that was at Abilene Christian University, my alma mater, for 12 years, taught in the public school after graduating from the University of Michigan with a master's degree in saxophone performance, and then did some teaching, and then went back to study with H. Robert Reynolds and got a doctorate from Michigan as well. That kind of is the nutshell.
That's great. Dr. Ticheli, tell us about you.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Frank Ticheli. I write music. Something that maybe most of you know, or maybe some of you don't know. I'm actually a native Louisianan, born in Monroe, Louisiana, and I lived in a little town near New Orleans called La Place until age 13 before we moved to Texas. And so I'm happy to be here with my fellow Louisianans and have this chance to talk about music and anything else that comes up.
That's great. Thank you. Well, this is really very special to have these two gentlemen here because there is a collaboration that happened, and I'm gonna let Dr. Wilson tell you about this because this is why music's music. Please, Eric, talk to us.
Well, first of all, I was at TMEA last February, and I was sitting between Jerry Junkin and Eugene Corporon, and I brought up then, and I feel the same way now, like that old Sesame Street skit, one of these things is not like the other. To have Frank and Tim on either side is true honor, and just grateful to have you guys as friends and colleagues. So appreciate you guys for inviting me to be a part of this. So this is a really special experience for us to share with you because it is a very rich, deeply emotional one. It goes back many, many years, but really the sort of beginning of this was in 2014. We had an unfortunate accident on July the 29th where 4 of our students who were traveling actually to the Clarinet Festival performance in Baton Rouge, they were involved in a car accident. And 2 of those students, Jack Stewart and Laura Nwodananti, lost their lives. You can see some of them on the screen. This is Jack and Laura. Laura had just finished her bachelor's degree and was headed to Michigan for her clarinet performance masters, and Jack had just finished his freshman year at Baylor. Again, this was right between, right in the middle of 2014, and it, as you might expect, really rocked our lives and certainly their families. A lot of their friends and the Baylor community really rallied around them and have since continued to do so. We love the Stewarts. And I believe they're actually tuning in just to observe this. So hello, Pat and Ann, as well as maybe Helen, Laura's mom. I hope you're able to join us as well. But this started, of course, a different kind of relationship with these families. We had a memorial service in September of that year. And it started over the course of several months, I guess a deeply bonding experience. I did an arrangement that we premiered at the Midwest Performance in 2014. And there was a piece called Serenity by Ola Yelo that I had arranged for that performance in memory of Jack and Laura. And Frank actually came to Baylor that October, and we collaborated with him on campus, and then ultimately it led to the Midwest Performance. We played Apollo Unleashed, his third movement of his symphony, and then we premiered right after that, actually, the Serenity arrangement. So fast forward 5 more years, Pat and Ann Stewart have continued to be a part of our family and invest in the lives of our students in the School of Music. They have been incredibly giving of their resources and their time and their love and their energy as they pay tribute to Jack. And they reached out to me in the spring of 2019 and saying we would like to commission a piece in these two loved ones' honor. We would like for this to be a substantive piece that would make a difference in the community of ensembles. So we really would love to have a great composer write this piece. Who should we ask? And I said, well, who do you want to ask? Well, one of the first names that both of us came to was Frank Ticheli. Jack went to Lake Highlands High School, which is in the Richardson ISD. That's where Frank moved to and was in the Berkner Band. So that was a connection. I think that the very first conductor of the Lone Star Youth Winds was Frank. And Jack Stewart was playing, I believe, principal clarinet in that band. And so Frank was his guest clinician. And so their lives intersected. And then, of course, and we saw a picture, or we will see. In fact, you could probably go ahead and put that up. This is a picture at TMEA, I believe, right, Frank?
Yes, indeed.
In the lobby somewhere. Laura had such a vivacious personality. She corralled these four illustrious, amazing composers and people and said, I want a picture of you now. And this was just how she was. A bit pushy, but you could never say no because she just had this delightful energy about herself. You can see it on her face. And so I called Frank just a few weeks later, and I had to leave a message. And I said, hey, I've got a collaboration I'd like for you to consider. And please call me at your earliest convenience. And so he called me back and unfortunately was not able to reach me. And he said, I can't wait to collaborate with you and Baylor. I just hope it's not a commission. And I'm listening to this voicemail and I'm thinking, uh-oh, I don't know if this is going to go well or not. And I'd already prepped Pat and Ann, the contributors toward this. I said, I have no idea if Frank is accepting commissions. I know he gets asked these things all the time. So we'll see what we can do. And if he can't do it, we'll move down the list. And so we finally were able to connect. And I was trying every angle. I said, you were one of Jack's clinicians. There's a picture of you and Laura somewhere at a region or TMEA. You're going to be the clinician for the All-State Symphonic Band at TMEA. It's the 100th commemorative anniversary of the conference for TMEA. Baylor Wind Ensemble is performing. We'd like to premiere this piece. I mean, I was laying it on as strong as I could because this is mere months before we have to have a piece. And he said, really, 2022 is probably the earliest I can get to it. And so I said, they're willing to wait. We're willing to wait. No problem. And that was early in the spring of last year. And over August break, right around the first few days of August, I received a text from Frank that's saying, Eric, I've gotten a lot of my projects completed. I have a little space. I'm thinking I might be able to squeeze in your piece. And I said, that would be incredible. And so we just started talking about what requests would we have. He was very open-ended, open-minded, asking me what kind of piece, how long, what do you envision this like? He knew it was going to be premiered at TMEA. So, what is your other pieces like? What do you see this piece serving? The sort of the musical expression and the environment. So then I just started, throwing out a few things. Well, both of these were clarinetists. They were all staters. They performed on that very stage at Lila Cockrell Theater. It would be very special for their families and for us to premiere this work on that very stage that they sat for many years in high school. And we'd like to maybe feature some more quiet, introspective kind of music, which fits Jack's personality, something a bit more vivacious and rhythmic to fit Laura. I said, if there's any way possible, if like you did in Apollo Unleashed, he referenced sort of the Bach chorale that Jim Croft did, who puts his trust in God most just. It was just such a beautiful overlapping and the interwoven nature of that. If you can add in any sense of the Baylor alma mater, which is that good old Baylor line, but it's in the good old summertime that everybody knows. He goes, well, I'll do what I can. That's a bit of an ask. But there's 3 spots in this piece that it just brilliantly laid in. And so I know I'm getting ahead of myself and I need to let Frank talk, but that started in motion this amazing, and I said to the students, a miracle happened for us to be able to have this piece. And I believe it was January the 7th that he delivered the parts via email PDFs. We rehearsed it for 2 weeks. We performed it February the 13th, and it was and will be one of the most glorious experiences of my life and the students. And being able to work with him, and I was still remember that first rehearsal where he and Carl St. Clair, the great conductor, also joined us for that very first session at at Reagan High School in San Antonio. And it was still one of the highlights of my career for sure. And I'm so grateful for Frank and for the Stewart family and the Onwanadantes for being there. They were both present. Both families were present to witness that performance, which I think was really special to them.
Tell us about it, Frank.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tim. And Eric, I appreciate all those words. You know, when you showed that photo to me, that group photo, that helped a lot in terms of persuading me to take this on during that busy time. Because I don't know about all of you out there, but you know, when you go to these conventions, how many, everybody's taking photos, right? We're all doing photos, and how many of them do you really remember? Not all of them, right? But I really remembered that photo because I remember that event because the way she corralled us, her energy. I'm talking about Laura. I had never forgotten that. And so when you shared that photo with me, it made it even more personal for me. And of course, the other thing is our relationship, the relationship that Eric and I have had. Is a long-standing relationship. We have made music together so many times, and this was just another chance for me to have the honor of working with Eric and his incredible ensemble, the Baylor Wind Ensemble. So I'm so glad I was able to do it. We're going to be looking at just a few excerpts. We're going to talk a little bit about the piece and how the piece sort of reflects these two people. And, you know, I'm just always reminded as a composer how music can honor our fellow human beings, people we love, people we admire, our mentors, our friends, our family members, and often they're one and the same. Music can honor these people in ways that almost nothing else can. And so it was just a real privilege for me to be able to do this. And because of them, I think I wrote a piece that's probably better than I could have written by myself. You know, it just transcends what I could do. They are in this piece. They inform this piece. So I'm happy about that. So if we pull up the video, you will notice, let me just give you a quick overview. There's three main things. There's a call motive. Yeah, you can see it right there at the beginning. There's this call motive. And can we just pause it? It won't pause, will it? Will it pause? I think it just paused. Good. So,
no.
Okay, I'm going to talk over it. So there it is. You hear that 12th there. That's the first main motive. Ba, da, da. That. And you see it goes from the low G to the high D. That's just the 12th key, right? The thumb key on the clarinet. I wanted to devise a theme that comes out of the clarinet itself, this instrument that Jack and Laura played. So that's that. And then the next thing is this breathing harmony from a 1 to a 3 chord, just breathing right here. And again. So that just represents breath, represents life, honors their life, that they were on this planet, that they were here, breathing and living. It acknowledges Jack and Laura. The call motive acknowledges their instrument, and the breathing acknowledges their person. And then the next thing is actually Jack's theme, this next video. This is introduced by the solo clarinet, of course, and it's just this lyrical theme accompanied by those very same breathing chords. Those breathing chords you just heard are in this next video. So we'll play that now. This is Jack's theme, solo clarinet introducing it, accompanied by the breathing chords. And repeat it. It modulates, and I just repeat it again in the horns. And then yet again, I didn't want it to end. I modulate again.
This is the alma mater right there. Which really freaked out a lot of the Baylor alumni. They were not expecting that.
Okay, and that's probably the end of that video. Okay, great. So that melody that you heard 3 times, the reason I kept repeating it and kept modulating and repeating it in different instruments, I wanted this sense of endless melody to sort of represent infinity to me. I mean, the title of the piece is Lux Perpetua, Eternal Light. And so the melody itself not only is Jack's theme, because it reflects Jack's thoughtful, introspective self and that lyricism, but it also represents this sense of eternity, the way I set the melody. And that's really all the material for this piece. You've got that call motive at the beginning, which was inspired by the physical construction of the clarinet. You've got the breathing harmony, and then you've got this melody, Jack's theme. And then we move to the fast part. There's no other material really in the piece. Everything comes from those 3 ideas. Laura, rather than give her another theme, I just have this different kind of music. I just have this more sparkling, ebullient, gregarious music to reflect her personality, her gregarious personality. And so you'll hear that in this next excerpt. This is Laura's section, the whole section. But while you hear this sparkling music representing Laura, you hear also the breathing chords underneath it. They come back. And you hear Jack's theme also come in. So, and Jack's theme is still very slow. So you've got the slow, lyrical, introspective theme that represents Jack, and you've got the bubbly, gregarious music that represents Laura. And all 3 of those things combine together to build to a huge climax.
And speaking of that, listen how long this climax occurs. It does not just tail off. He just is persistent, and it is so satisfying.
There's the breathing chord. And here come the clarinets on the theme.
Frank sold himself as a little short, saying that's all the material there is. There's a lot of material in here.
Yeah, but it's all inspired by those 3.
Right, absolutely.
Seeds for everything. You will hear it built to this big subdominant chord, and I had to earn it. I feel like I had to earn the arrival. This is not it. We're still getting there. And I just had to wait until it seemed like the right place. You'll know when it comes. And that's where the climax starts. And then as Eric mentioned, it's a plateau climax, not a peak. Here it comes. The subdominant chord. This starts the climax.
Not over yet.
Now it's over. And there's the call motive again. Yeah, so that's the end of the climax there. And yes, I'm reminded of my own teacher, Leslie Bassett. And I can remember as a student, he would say, Frank, once you finally arrive to the mountaintop, stay there for a while and enjoy the view. Don't start climbing back down the mountain right away. And so I learned that from him. And we all have to learn that. It's not something new. All composers have to learn that. And relearn. Every new generation has to learn that, because we work so hard to get to a climax. We get to that peak, and then we're so tired of getting there. We just want to come back down, and that's when the work really starts. We get to that climax, and you want to stay there and let it sustain that moment, and that's what I tried to do there with that. And again, everything about this was really inspired by these two people and what I learned about them and what I knew about them. And I tell you, Eric, I couldn't have written it without being in all that information you provided to me. It just helped so much.
Well, and you can see at the very beginning of that video, I looked up, and it was not pre-planned at all. It was very much feeling like they were with us. And I started when you're out there in front of 3,500 people that they know what they're doing, and it's a critical audience, of course, but it wasn't anything about that. I remember thinking, this is a real gift that we're about to give the world, and it was a gift that we had been given, one that we had been, the fact that we were able to work collaboratively and sponsored by the Stewarts to honor such incredible people, played by amazing human beings. I see that video, and every single one of those individuals I'm just drawn to because of the relationships that I'm fortunate to have with each of them. And to be able to, in that moment, look up and know, as I mentioned something in the program notes, we hope you enjoy this from your eternal audience seat.
Yeah,
and I absolutely know they were there, and I acknowledged them at the end as well.
I noticed that you looked up again at the end.
I did.
And also the music itself, after this climax, the music is quiet again, but it slowly ascends, right? The music slowly ascends up to the heavens again at the end. And so you're looking up at the end. It was perfect after the piece.
And I will tell you, that was definitely not pre-planned. It's not to manipulate the audience at all. It was just, I felt very connected, with them and their memories.
Well, and it reminds everyone here. It reminds everyone here, I'm sure. We've all lost people that we love and that mean something to us. And just going through this process, it reminds us how powerfully relationships in our community matter, and how music is the thread through which we can honor the people that we love. We're constantly over and over reminded of the power music has to do this. And
let me push this one step. First of all, I hope everybody had some tissue close by, right? We've got this phenomenal band. We've got this extraordinary conductor that's just pulling everything out of it, written by an iconic master. What was the relationship between the two of you to bring it about?
Well, I think the first person, of course, was H. Robert Reynolds. It's one of Frank's mentors. He's so much older than me, so he had that, way before me. But of course, our mentors point us in the direction of the people that are not only blessing their lives and encouraging them and challenging them in all the right ways, but to be able to have your mentor say, you need to pay attention to these people. They matter to me, but they also matter to many others because of the contributions that they're making. And of course, I sat on the sort of the periphery for a really long time watching this, and had done some of Frank's pieces, but it really wasn't until I think 2006, I was finishing my final year as the director of bands at Abilene Christian University. We had been invited to perform, ironically, at Baylor University for the regional CBDNA in April of 2006. Even more ironic is that my performance with that ACU group was 2 days before I interviewed at Baylor for this position. So it was very much, I guess, serendipitous, you could say. But Bob had just premiered recently the Sanctuary that Frank had written for him. And I reached out to Frank saying, we're going to perform at the regional CBDNA at Baylor. Would you allow us to perform Sanctuary? It was not published yet. So he sent me those parts. That really began, I guess, the personal connection that I had with Frank. And that sort of laid there for a while. And of course, just our paths were crossing as we went to various conventions and performances. I think the next thing was 2013 when Alan McMurray was having his final CU Boulder conducting symposium. I went out just to observe all the masters. I mean, Alan there, H. Robert Reynolds, Richard Floyd, Craig Kirchhoff, Tom Lee, Frank Ticheli. I mean, those guys were all there, and I just was an observer, just there to see their friendships. I was really, I guess, honored to be staying in the same hotel and had breakfast and lunch and dinner with them at times.
And that really started to get to know you.
Yes,
I remember that's when we really started to get to know each other. Those breakfasts in the morning, and so forth. But then we got to make music together several times. That's when the relationship really started to grow through music again. And I just treasure that. And that's really why this happened, how this all happened. It came through our own
to Baylor
growing relationship through music.
When we did the Midwest performance of Apollo, we also collaborated in a clinic before that where he, I guess, debuted one of his piece, actually. And he talked about that. We were sort of his backup band, so to speak. And that was where we really got a chance to collaborate. And I've been, of course, grateful to have him as a wonderful friend, but a great collaborator as well.
Yeah. And I'm guessing everybody here completely can relate to what we're saying. We're not saying anything new. Everybody here can relate to this. It's all about the relationship, isn't it? I mean, the music is this wonderful medium through which we form this family. And I think COVID, for me, this is something good to me that's come out of this, Eric, is it's taught me in a more powerful way how powerfully this world, this small world we're in, because we're in a subgroup of, right? This is a subcategory of music. Music is huge, and we're one part of music, the music education world and concert bands and so forth. It's a small community, and we really are a family. And I have seen this more now because I have seen how people have come together during this time of crisis. And I've learned how we are protecting each other, helping each other. We've got each other's backs. We're supporting each other. And so this is sort of just one more example to me of the many things that have come out of COVID. I do want to say one other thing, though. You were talking about that concert at TMEA. That was it was my last big memory, great memory of live music making. Was that February in Texas. Your concert and I did the All-State Band and many concerts that happened there. And so I'm hanging on to those memories right now until we're back again on the other side of this mess and we're back together making music again. I'm hanging on to that. Lux Perpetua, that was the premiere, and I was ready for it. Okay, here it is. It's sort of been given birth and it's out in the world. And then everything stopped. And even my publishers, we're not publishing it yet, but everything has stopped. And so everything's been put on hold. And we're all waiting right now. And so that's just sort of I just wanted to give that personal story regarding what I feel like I'm going through right now, just the waiting. So,
well,
can't wait.
Everybody's going through it. Like it's raining on all of us, so to speak.
Yeah.
This is so important because I know we have a lot of young teachers watching, and you've hit it a couple times. My guess is, had you not had the relationship with Eric, you might not have found time to wedge that piece in. Would that be possible, Frank?
Absolutely. It was all about it because it happened to be a busy time, and I don't have that many commissions. I'm just a slow composer, it just comes off and drop. And so it was at an extremely busy time where I was actually having to turn down many commission invitations. And so there are many of them that I did turn down. This one I just felt like I couldn't. And you saying I called him in August, it's because I sat down and I just started thinking about it. And as I was thinking about it, something went on the page, and I went to the piano and I played something. And I thought, ooh, I like that. And my wife in another room on the other side of the house, Eric, my wife Shari, right when I said, what's this? Those two chords, 1 to the 3, with a little dissonance. It's not just 1 to 3, it's 1 to 3 with that dissonance.
Right. Yeah. And
I went, right then I went, what's this? And as soon as I thought that, my wife on the other side of the house went, what's that? She yelled that out to me. What's that, Frank? She heard it as well. And I said, I think this is Eric's piece. I think this is Laura and Jack's piece. And I remember that moment. It just happened by accident. Isn't that amazing? Some of the greatest things that happen, the most creative things, the greatest creations happen by accident. You can't plan them sometimes. You can't plan, I am going to create magic moment now at 11:25. Create magic moment. Go, Frank. You can't do that. You can't plan it. You just have to wait for it. You leave the door open and hope it will happen. And that was just one of those cases where it just happened, and literally by accident.
Well, and let me just jump in. I think that there is some level, there's a large level of faith and trust that you have to put yourself into the process. I have never programmed a piece of music for a major conference and a major performance without knowing anything about the piece, nor knowing when it would even be available to me. And so I totally believed in Frank, and we had communicated many times through email, through text, through phone calls. And we could just sense that something was happening that was greater than ourselves. And I could go to sleep for many nights not worrying about this piece. The only thing I was worried about was, is it going to fit in this length of time? Because, those performances have to fit exactly. And it was a little bit longer than what we had asked for, but I wouldn't take anything back for sure. But that was not blind faith. That was trust in someone that had, of course, been there, done that, and had proven himself time and time again. And also knowing my students, no matter what, I know that they're going to be able to pull this off. In fact, the two biggest, over half of the concert, we had from January 11th or whatever it was to February 13th to learn. So it was Frank's piece and Omar Thomas's Come Sunday, the second and the last, which has a lot of notes in it. But it was one of those things that I just could trust that the ensemble, they would do whatever they had to do in the length of time. And we don't rehearse as, I think, as much as some of the larger schools do. Just our rehearsal schedule is only 4 hours a week. And so I knew that, we would have to be very diligent and efficient. And of course, we had 3 other pieces that we were needing to perform as well.
Yeah.
But it was in the hands of a master, and it is a masterpiece. I really believe it.
Well,
I thank you for that. Thank you.
It's proof that in this case, and we're all thinking it, we're listening to you, it's the two right people. It's 1 + 1 = 4. And you can't buy that. You can't, that's just the way the puzzle lays out. There's a question, and it's from Gil, and I'll read it to you. It says, What was the process like to start on that amazing piece with such a heavy background, and how did your feelings evolve through the process? I think that's for you, Frank.
Whew, yeah. Well, I actually started to answer that question earlier. It started by accident. Me just sort of thinking, okay, what should I do? And you go through self-doubt, a ton of self-doubt. Every time I start a piece, there's self-doubt. And I think that's just a normal part of the process. I've gotten used to it now. But I was going through that, just, how can I do this? I don't even deserve to be doing this, that feeling. And just sitting at the piano, and literally that mistake happened, that accident I mentioned, and something just took hold. So it started from that. And in this particular case, this is something similar, Tim, and you said it was Gil. This is something similar in the way that Sanctuary started. Both of those pieces started from a harmonic progression that came by accident, just improvising and, that's something. And that's what started this piece. And it was out of the harmonic progression that melody that the clarinetist introduced, the solo clarinetist, Jack's theme, that just sort of flowered out of the harmony. Rather than a melody first and then harmonize it, I had that harmony, that repeating breathing harmony. And just out of that, I just kept playing around with my right hand on the piano until this clarinet melody just literally, I say flowered because it just sort of blossomed slowly like a flower. It unfolded just gradually like this. And then there that was. And so that's sort of how the process, that's the technical side of how the process unfolded. In terms of what I was feeling, most of what I'm feeling, I'm thinking about them. And I'm also thinking about a lot of other things. You're thinking about a million things as a composer. You're thinking about the people, but you're also thinking, you sit down at the desk, you're thinking, I've got to make this thing work. I've got to make it go from here to there and it's got to be this satisfying journey. Yes, a journey that honors these people, but it has to, all the molecules have to sort of come together, congeal in a way that makes a single thing. And that's the scary part of what we do. And it's every time it's scary. So basically what I'm saying is I don't really understand the process. I'm saying I don't know how to compose. I just know I do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I do it. I just do it. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of taking wrong turns and then getting back on course. And it's a lot of patience. One thing I do know, it is the head and the heart constantly keeping each other in check and constantly working with one another so that no single side takes over too greatly. That's maybe too long an answer to the question. It's I could spend the whole hour just on that. You're really talking about the creative process and this specific one. It's a tricky, great question though, by the way.
Well, and there's affirmation in going, Frank Ticheli has self-doubt. Oh my God, I guess it's okay, right?
No, we all do. Yeah.
Gentlemen,
I wouldn't trust a musician who doesn't have self-doubt.
Exactly. It's part of life. Yeah. We've got 4 minutes. I told you this would go fast. And knowing that the people who are watching that are music educators, right, who go in every day on the front lines and make it work. What 1 minute piece of advice do you have for these people who are knocking it out of the park all the time? Eric, why don't you start?
Well, we talked about that, and I went back to the program that actually I had created for the performance. And there was a little piece at the top of this in the program notes, and I just thought this was about as succinct as I could do it. It harkens back to a welcome address by Carl Palnick that he gave at the Boston Conservatory many years ago. And it's a compelling read. I hope you can listen to it and look online. It's just called Welcome Address. But here's a few things of the thoughts. In his 2008 Boston Conservatory address, Carl Palnick described musicians akin to a sort of therapist for the human soul who works with our insides to see if we can come into harmony with ourselves and be healthy and happy and well. And as performers, we don't take this lightly. Because someone is going to walk into your concert hall and bring a mind that is confused, a heart that is overwhelmed, a soul that is weary. And whether they go out whole again will depend partly on how well you do your craft. And this is the part for me that I was just thinking, for us to remember. Audience and ensemble members alike are drawn to the music that reveals the heart and the soul, the mind and the spirit of composers and performers working collaboratively toward a common purpose. And through this complex and communal alliance, the power of music is revealed, the power to express emotions and feelings, the power to be seized and swept away, and the power to be forever changed and imprinted. And this experience for me very much fits into that. It is forever an imprinting kind of moment. And not just my life, not just the students or even Frank's, maybe the audience members, but I hope that it will continue to give back and pay it forward. And I would just say one last thing. I'm not getting any money to say this, but maybe consider downloading that performance from Mark Custom, not just so you can hear how the whole piece unfolds. It is magical. And the concert as well. Again, I'm not getting any kind of residuals, but I know for them it would be great business because they've had a lot of these conferences that have been canceled. Yeah. And so Mark Moret and his staff are amazing. I just encourage others that you can either order the CD or the DVD or even download the MP3s. But I'll let Frank offer the final.
Well, those are, I don't know what much, I can't add much to that. That's really beautiful, Eric. I guess I would add to that. Make sure you take time to just go outside, breathe the air, appreciate this world, nature. We're going through a tough time right now, and we have to remember the things that really, really matter to us while we're on this planet. And don't forget that we are a community. We are a family. We all have I've learned that so often now. We all are taking care of each other. I mean, I formed this thing. This is not about the Creative Repertoire Initiative, but I formed this thing with 12 other composers, all writing this adaptable music. You mentioned Omar. He's one of them. John Mackey and all these people, all these composers are writing this adaptable music because you need it right now. So there's a whole world of composers out there that are thinking about you and trying to help. And that's just composers and leaders in the field as well. That you can find help if you're going through tough times. And also, I hope you will all take time to help others who are going through a tough time as well.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Frank. And for all of you, we have innately gifted musicians that are heartfelt. You can sense that, but it pales in comparison to what great human beings they are. And that's why it comes out in the music. So thanks to all the LMEA family, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Kelly, thank you. And to all of you, have a great remainder of the convention and a blessed Thanksgiving. And we're going to get on the other side of the mountain.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone.